Team UPNG going against Team IDSU. Thank you so much for your patience, for bearing with us thus far. Moving on, I'd like to introduce to you our adjudicators for this preliminary round. Please give a big round of applause to Mr. Kinivanagi Karo, who is the Managing Director, Capacity Building Development Consultant of Nerau Law Limited. Up next, we have Ms. Mary Pandan. She is an entrepreneur, help SME women in building businesses and change of mindset. She's a member of PNC Toastmasters. Thank you very much. And our final educator is Mr. Billy Noredu. He is a lecturer in the University of Papua New Guinea in communication and life skills. He is the strength leader for literature and English communication. The topic for our second round debate is this House welcomes the belief that PNG was matured as a nation state when led to independence. Before moving on to our debate competition, I'd like to read the debating rules and guidelines. Each team should comprise of 3 core members and 1 reserve. The core members will only be replaced in the event that any of the core members is unfit due to circumstances beyond control. Replacements should not be done during finals. The debate will be carried out in rounds depending on the number of participants. 2 teams will debate against each other. From the preliminary round, the 2 teams will, with the top scores and top bottom scoring teams, will debate against each other for semi-finals. The top 2 winners of the semi-finals will enter the grand final debate. The winner of grand final debate will be awarded. The teams are given 1 debate topic each for the elimination, and the final round topics are also given at the same time, so they prepare concurrently. Draws will take place whether a team is for or against the topic to avoid biasness. The first and the second speaker get 5 minutes each, while the last speaker gets 10 minutes. The time card will be shown when the time card will be shown 1 minute before the final time. Our timekeeper. And in the duration of the final time, we'll have the bell and the time card. Thank you for the demonstration. Ladies and gentlemen, our timekeeper for this session is Ms. Javin Wa. Please make it welcome. 50 palm cards with short notes. Purpose of palm cards is to keep on track. And strictly no personal attack when rebutting. Participants must be professional and diplomatic in asking their case. Strictly no mention of bureaucrats' names while arguing your case. The scoring will be indicating sheet based on 3 areas: meta, method, and manner. Each individual gains scores for presentation and is given scores out of 100. Each speaker will be judged on his or her own merits. For an open and fair judgment, the judges will be prominent, independent judges, and must be gender ballot. The judge's decision is final. No team can argue after. The winning team in the grand final will get the grand final prize, certificates of participation, and consolation prizes will be given to all participating teams. All other preparations should be done by respective schools and their patrons. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we will now proceed into our debate competition between UTNG and IBSU. The topic, this house once again welcomes the belief that PNG was matured as a nation state when led to independence. I would like to now make welcome the first speaker of the affirmative team of University of Papua New Guinea to present the case. Please make welcome Ms. Rihanna Naris.
Good morning, judges, timekeepers, and fellow debaters across my audience. The Honorable Affirmative team going for the top. This House welcomes the belief that PNG was matured as a nation state when led to independence. My name is Rihanna Naris. I am the first speaker. I'll base my arguments on the social aspect. My second speaker, Barbara Oliver, she will base her arguments on the political aspect. My third speaker, Kuri Ndokyo, will summarize the team's point and she will give our recommendation. But before I start, I'd like to define three key terms that is relevant to our discussion. The first term, the nation state. Now, according to study.com, the nation state is a state that could be governed by a single independent government, and the people in this nation legally and culturally recognize themselves as citizens of this nation. Now, my second point is maturity. Now, according to freedictionary.com, maturity means to reach an advanced or desired state. My third point is independence. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, independence is when a country is given political freedom from its colonies. Therefore, friends, this House strongly and firmly believes without any doubt that PNG during the pre-independence had reached the desired advanced state of being socially and politically stable to be governed by a single independent government, because the people of this nation consider themselves legally and culturally Papua New Guineans, and that was even before gaining political freedom from our colonial. The pre-independence gave rise to a group of nationalists who called themselves the Bully Beef Club. They were prominent patriots that had defined PNG's history. This group consisted of different individuals with different minds coming from different backgrounds, all united under one goal, independence for Papua New Guinea. These were not just ordinary men. These were young, educated individuals with vibrant minds, such as the then Michael Samarin himself, who saw the need to change because change was still yet to come. Now, in Stephen Windu's Transition and Transformation book, he described how the educated population of Papua New Guinea was still vulnerable to the criticism of our colonial power. Now, I'll give an example. For example, if a white man has a sales manager position, his salary package would be 8,000 US, 8,000 Australian dollars. Whilst if a Papua New Guinea educated Papua New Guinean man was to get a sales manager position, he would have only gotten 6,000 US dollars as his salary package. Therefore, in the book Sana, the autobiography of the late Grand Chief Sir Michael Samarin, he said that the educated men and women of Papua New Guinea had lacked incentives to seek a luxury lifestyle in Port Moresby, or they even lacked incentives to seek high-paid jobs. Instead, they went back to the village to develop the village government system. They went back to the village to develop the village court system so that no one was actually left behind. This motivated the late Grand Chief Sir Michael Samarin to put push independence because he saw that the people were taking their own initiatives to develop the nation without the aid from the government. With all this, it was evident that Papua New Guinea was socially matured as a nation state, all leading up to independence. Thank you very much.
And that was the first speaker of Team UPNG. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome the first speaker of Team IBS going against the topic. This House welcomes the belief that PNG was matured independence. Please make welcome Ms. Rothan Quimberry.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, guests. Good morning, our audience, our esteemed panel of judges, the timekeeper, and not forgetting the affirmative team. Now, before I begin, I would like to respond to the arguments presented by the affirmative. So you mentioned the book that Grand Chief Sir Marcus Samara wrote. I would like to point out that it is a mention of the hierarchy, as well as and foreigners had ownership of most of the assets in Papua New Guinea at that time in 1975. Second point, the 8-point implementation plan of 1972 states that there be in the economy of Papua New Guinea in 1975. Therefore, we were immature as a nation to gain independence. My last and final point, according to the 8-point implementation plan of 1972, it called for the equal and active participation of women in social and economic activities, which means that at that time in 1975, there was little to no participation of women in economic and social activities. Therefore, Papua New Guinea was immature. The government of Papua New Guinea